Hey beauties, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you guys a long overdue video, and today will be a lace closure sewing installation. I'm using my little sister, my youngest sister, today as my hair model. Now today's hair is provided by Longqi Hair. I hope I'm saying that right, and they did send me over some deep wave bundles and a matching closure. The inches is listed down below so you guys can check that out, and I'm just going to quickly show you the unboxing process of what the hair looked like fresh out of the pack. And then off camera I did go ahead and bleach the knots and pluck the lace closure, and I'm just going to jump straight into the installation process, so stay tuned. So here we have the lace closure. I went ahead and plucked it and bleached the knots as I mentioned, and I am just laying it on her head. I did just do her hair like as far as the braid down, just I parted it down the middle and just braided the braids going side and back. And honestly, this wasn't the braid pattern that I wanted to use for her sewing install today, but I forgot that I was doing a sewing at first because I'm so used to doing like quick weaves on them. But it will be I would do another sewing tutorial and show you guys the actual braid down pattern that I really would prefer to use when doing closure installations. But this one can work as well. You can still get a neat and flat closure install. So as I mentioned, I parted her hair down the middle and I just braided it how you see it, just going towards the side and backwards. And I'm going to take a nude cap and just apply that onto her braids, and I took one layer of my Beautiful Hustler lace matte adhesive and applied that on the front end where her closure will lay, and applied some got to be holding spray that way that can go ahead and begin to dry as I start to sew in the back tracks. Now you can do the install one or two ways. For one, today I'm going to double weft the back, the first bundle, like I'm going to sew it double wefted, and then the last two bundles I will sew singly so that it really lays flat, even though you can still get a really flat installation with the double weft process. But I just want to give you guys some quick benefits. When you double weft, you can fit in more bundles versus single wefting the whole entire install. Usually when you single weft, either you're gonna have to sew really close together to get so much hair in, or you can just double weft and get most of that hair in. But once you get towards the top or halfway throughout the head, to me, in my opinion, it's best that you single weft, so you know for sure that your closure or frontal or whatever you are sewing is going to lay completely flat and neat. And right now I'm just showing you guys how I double weft sew in my tracks, and I do not cut any wefts when I am sewing. I just do the flip over method. So right here I'm here at a corner and I am double wefting. So what I like to do is just flip that track, make sure it's laying nice and flat when you flip it, and I just add some stitches to the end of that what you want to call it. I add like some stitches to the end of that weft to secure that it's laying down flat and it is holding on really good. And another way I do my sewings as far as the knotting process to make sure that it is super secure and it's not gonna like unravel is that between every single stitch I wrap my thread around my needle 3 times and then pull it. So that means with every stitch there's a knot. And what that also means is if you was to cut one thread, your whole sewing will not unravel, or if you was to pop one thread, your whole sewing will not unravel because it's knotted between every stitch. So I hope I'm not confusing you guys on what I mean by that, but I'm pretty much showing you, and I try to get as close as possible so you guys can really see what I'm doing and what I mean. So right now I am still double wefting, and I'm just pulling on that to show you how secure her sewing is because of that knotting method that I do between every stitch. Some people just go in and out throughout the whole sewing without knotting it after every stitch, and like I said, this is just my preference, and this is a really good way that I recommend you to do sewings, by knotting every stitch. But also if you notice, I'm sewing onto the cap for her sewing installation. You don't have to sew on the cap. You can if you like, or you could use a sewing net. But when I do another sewing install video, I will show you how to do the sewing with the net, and then I will also show you guys how to do a sewing without any of that. So you know, I would, you know, present you guys different ways on you can do things, and then whichever way works best for you, you can just go ahead and, you know, do it. But I'm going to continue to sew this first bundle and double weft it, and then I will come back on when it's time to do the next bundle and sew it single. So now that it's time for me to single weft, I am just taking the end of that needle. Well, I'm taking that needle and just sticking it right through the end corner of that weft, and I'm just going to knot it on the end a few times before I begin to pick up where I left off as far as sewing. And I'm going to turn her to the side, and it's just the same exact steps. The only thing I'm doing differently is I'm not double wefting the tracks. I'm just sewing it single, but I'm still going to do those knots between every stitch so that her sewing is super secure. And once I get about halfway with this bundle, I'm going to go ahead and apply the closure, and then I will continue to sew in the rest of the hair. So I'm almost done with that second bundle, but right now I'm just going to focus on getting that closure laid in. As you can see, that glue dried in as well as that got to be spray has dried. So I'm going to go in and begin to cut off that extra cap so I can begin to lay down her color foundation to also lay down that lace closure. And I'm just going to cut that extra cap off. That's first things first. And I'm going to take that Ruby Kisses foundation. I'm going to use level 16, the lighter shade in that palette, and just apply that on the front of the cap and also in the parting area of that cap as well. And I'm going to also apply that same foundation into the inside of her lace closure and cut off the thick sides of that closure. And then I will begin to lay down my layers of glue onto her skin and then lay that closure on down.
What's good, Shakari?
Now for her install, I did do 4 layers of my lace matte adhesive, and now that that glue is dry and clear, I still have the lace on the front of it, but I am just laying that lace closure right into that glue so it is nice and secure. And I'm just going to have her hold each side down to secure that closure will not move. And I'm just going to stretch that closure out completely out until it is laying completely flat. And I'm just going to start by sewing the back down first, and then once I get that back part down and it's stretched out to its full length, I'm going to stitch it down, and then I'm going to work my way around one side and then cut the thread and then sew down the other side. And just make sure if you do it this way, you have them hold it that way while that glue is melting in on that lace. They're holding it firm and that closure will not move, and you will be able to get your closure to lay super flat.
What's good, Shakari?
So now that that lace is super secured, I'm just going to go ahead and begin to tie down that lace. I'm just going to part it down the middle first, and then just kind of like plait the 2 sections up, and then like kind of pin it up. But then I'm going to take my elastic band and tie down that closure first before cutting off that extra lace so it can melt in, and then I will cut off the extra lace and do, you know, the second step melting process. But while that elastic band is on that hairline, melting that closure on down, I am going to continue to sew in the rest of the bundles.
Hey, what's good, Shakari?
So after sewing in the rest of the bundles, I'm just going to go ahead and remove that elastic band, and I'm going to begin to razor off that extra lace off the front. Then I'm going to pull down the section for the baby hair and also tack down whatever else is still lifting before tying that lace down again and spraying holding spray on that hairline for my second step melting process. And then I'm going to get into styling and cutting the baby hair and the finishing touches on this look as well. And of course, to get the top super silky and super laid, we're going to go in with that Glam Wax stick and that hot comb and just get everything pressed out nice and neat. Make sure you do use, you do part of a section in the back of the closure to make sure that part back there is, you know, the tracks are covered and is laid super nice and neat as well. And I'm just going to continue to hot comb and smooth everything out. As you can see, her closure is laying completely flat with the technique that I used to install today. And right now I'm just lifting up those baby hairs and tacking down those very edges of the closure because it was not melted to my perfection. So I went back in and just added some glue under there so I can make sure it's completely tacked down and completely laid. And then I will go ahead and add the Got To Be spray and tie down her hairline. And then take some mousse and wet up the curls, conceal her part, define it, and all of that good stuff. And last but not least, after laying the closure, doing the baby hair and everything else, I'm just going to go on with some mousse and mousse this hair up to get that curl pattern back into that closure. You know, after washing and blow drying and all of that, it does lose its pattern. But I'm just going to add some mousse and add a little bit of water as well, what I did off camera to get those curls nice and popping. We did not want that soaking wet look. We just wanted the curl to be defined. That's why I did not go in with a spray bottle and wet that hair up completely. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Stay tuned for the final look, and I will see you guys next time.